Welcome to the Interstate Mets Report with your hosts, Nelson and Chris.
What is up, everyone? It's your boy CP here, back with another episode, the 28th ever episode of the New York Mets Interstate Mets Report. This is absolutely amazing how fast time is flying by. On here with us, Nelson. How are you doing? Glad you can join me here on November 21st. We got some topics to talk about today, but the hot stove is still slowly ramping up, so we're gonna keep waiting on that. But how are you doing today?
Not too bad. Just trying to get through this week. It's crazy with the holidays and everything. So just trying to get through,
Oh,
and hopefully we get some kind of news at some point, man. This is
yeah. It just seems like we're waiting for that first bombshell to happen with a passing bomb or something like that. But we got a couple low-key signings here and there. The Cardinals are active in the market right now. But as always, make sure you guys are following us on X at Interstate Mets. Make sure you're following Nelson on X as well at Amish Country Met, and you know where to find me. All my handles are at CPNY Sports. But yeah, let's get into it. Honestly, let's just get right into it. The first topic we're going to be talking about here is the New York Mets hiring the new personnel. A couple of new guys entering the Mets front office in sort of more executive level roles. We got Chris Gross taking over as the VP of amateur scouting with the Mets, and then we got Andy Green hired to be the senior player development person with the Mets. So I honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you, just their backgrounds in terms of the organization, especially with Chris Gross and where he's coming from with the Houston Astros, it seems like, it's a decent sort of hire. He seems like well respected. It seemed like the Astros wanted to retain him on a deal, but ultimately David Stearns and company were able to sort of get him over here in Queens and sort of take over that VP of scouting. So, what do you make of these hires, and does that tell you anything about what David Stearns is starting to instill within the front office at the executive level within this new regime?
I mean, it's to be expected. He's got to build his front office the way he likes. He right before what I think it was August where they like fired a ton of people. Um, kind of, and we speculated that it was kind of laying the groundwork for him to come in, and kind of did. So now that he's got the job, he's putting the people in place that he wants, which is fine. And this guy, Gross, or I think that's how you say his name, he fits the bill. Did a great job over in Houston. Hopefully, he can carry that over here. Andy Green, I mean, he's never had a front office role before, so I think that's an interesting one. But I'm
Right.
sure he's a smart baseball guy. Like he played in the Mets system way back in the day. Nothing wrong with it. I'm sure he'll learn. Beltran, of course, is going to still be in the mix there, and as an assistant to Stearns as well as also the guy that came over from Milwaukee. I forget his name, but yeah, any new minds that bring fresh ideas, I'm all with it.
Yep. I was gonna say the Andy Green hire too was funny because the original report was that he had gotten fired from the Cubs, but what really was the case was that the Mets, or the Cubs rather, were trying to retain Andy Green as their bench coach. I think he's been serving as their bench coach for the last 3 or 4 seasons there, with ex-manager Mr. David Ross, but he actually just got lured into the position by the Mets. So there was no firings. He did not get fired. I know that was the initial report, but that is not true. I think the reporter went and backtracked that as well. And just want to make sure to shout out the chat here, everybody getting their comments in. If you are watching on Twitter or X, we cannot see those comments. So hop on over to the YouTube live and drop your comments. But we got Yuki in here saying the curse is over. Lindor bought McNeil his car. I know we've been talking about that a couple of times throughout the season on this channel, on this show here, Nelson. And I know your thoughts on it. I think everybody knows my thoughts on it if you follow me on X. And it's good to see that that came to fruition. Obviously, that wasn't any sort of definition or any sort of reason as to why the Mets struggled in 2023. So I'm not sure if I'll say it's a curse, but Jeff McNeil gets a brand new Bronco to go into his collection. And I guess a lot of people in the comments were already spilling their thoughts and ideas. And I know you're going to find this hilarious, but they're like, oh, it's the base model. It's this, it's that. It's absolutely ridiculous in terms of what we're seeing in the comments. But shout out Yuki there. We got Tom in the house.
What up, Tom?
My guy Tom, what up, Tom? Shout out you. Stoney's in the chat, says hi, Nelson and Chris. We got Patty saying what's up to Yuki, saying she thought something happened. No, we're going Tuesday today with the holiday week. No episode on Friday, so we'll go Tuesday unless something groundbreaking happens, which I don't foresee happening from now until then.
What,
but
the Mets,
never know.
The Mets aren't going to sign Yamamoto on Thanksgiving?
That I saw your tweet saying that you want a nice little Christmas present from Mr. Cohen, and hopefully it comes a little bit early.
It
so
would
maybe
be nice if we want to give out early gifts.
Rich, yeah, exactly. Hey, we've all been good, to be honest with you. We've been on here covering this team through thick and thin. So,
how about this?
Rich Hill. I know I've been seeing Keith on Twitter spewing the Dick Mountain rhetoric, and I don't know if it's satire. I don't know if it's satire, but man, I don't know. I would not. I don't want any parts of that guy on my team, to be honest with you. We're trying to get younger here, but I mean, in terms of we'll talk about it with our projections in terms of where we're standing with the rotation and the lineup moving forward. We'll talk about who's going to be filling in the bottom end of that rotation. We have a couple of newcomers for you. We'll talk about it, and then obviously I'll have my guys down there as well. So. Rich Hill, I like the narrative. We'll see what happens. We'll have some discourse on it, but for me, it's a no-go.
Dick Mountain can, I think he can be like an assistant pitching coach, or we were going back and forth. I said bunting instructor. We'll figure something out. I think he has a place in this organization. Just I don't see it as a starting pitcher.
Not on the mound. That's right. Not on the mound. These are a couple interesting comments here in terms of what Yuki's saying. Hate to say it, but Jung-Hoo Lee is exactly what the Mets need right now. Elite bat-to-ball skills, can play the outfield, lefty bat, good speed, and won't be as expensive as Cody Bellinger. All valid points. I like Jung-Hoo Lee's game. Obviously, that left field spot is going to be up for grabs, whether it's McNeil or an external signing in free agency this year. Nobody knows how they're going to approach that situation, but I like Jung-Hoo Lee's game. His market's probably going to be a little extensive, so there might be a little bit of a bidding war there, but I agree his contract numbers are definitely not going to be up there with what Boris is going to get Cody Bellinger, and whoever signs Cody Bellinger to that 6+ year deal, which I foresee happening, is going to regret it. So I'll just say that first and foremost. I'm not saying Cody Bellinger is not a bad option, but 3 to 4 year deal max, but that's not what he's going to get. So that market is just going to be absolutely unreal. And then he says this. I know the Mets are still looking for a bench coach. Yuki's saying that Phil Nevin with the Mike Schilt hiring for the Padres going down today. That news just broke a couple hours ago. Phil Nevin for the Mets bench coach would be great for a potential Ohtani reunion.
Ohtani is not coming here. All right, let's just chill. Yeah. Ohtani's not coming. Sad to say, but Jung-Hoo Lee's probably not coming. This team needs pitching. Mm-hmm. And I think that's going to be the first priority. And I said it last night. It sucks because I hate to be in this spot, but it kind of, to me, the flow of this offseason goes with the Yamamoto signing. Like, I feel like we kind of need to get that done. If we don't, then things are going to be a little wonky and maybe a little harder to figure out. But that Yamamoto signing is big for us. Hopefully we can make it happen. But, yeah, I think our resources are going to go towards pitching. I don't think we're signing any big bats. Maybe like a Teoscar Hernandez. We'll talk about that later. But, yeah, I think the resources money-wise are going towards starting pitching and relief pitching.
Yeah, and I think and I think we'll get into that. Like I said, with our projected 2024 roster for the Mets here, one of our last topics of the day to close out the show. I know that we both honestly are going more of pitching heavy sort of acquisitions instead of acquisitions for the lineup. So there's a lot of internal I guess combinations you can roll out there with the lineup, but the rotation is what it is. You got two guys, and you need to fill those rest of those spots. And so, Patty's saying that she would totally go after Jung Hoo Lee, also Yariel Rodriguez. Both are a bargain. Don't know what the market for Rodriguez is going to be, but I agree with you. I don't think Jung Hoo Lee or Otani, either of them, are going to be in a Mets uniform, unfortunately. So it just is what the 2024 Mets position is right now in terms of roster needs. The pitching trumps all, like you just said. Aaron checking in with us, Hawaiian shirt Friday, a nice button up today. Okay, Chris. Yeah, I got to do it, man. Friendsgiving is today, so I'm starting a little bit early, but I had to get on this show here to provide you all some Mets news and some Mets talk. So shout out everybody. John checking in with us as well. I can see them naming Nevin as the bench coach before Thanksgiving. We'll see what happens with Phil Nevin. A lot of people speculating whether he was going to get a managerial role elsewhere or if he's just going to go and take that sort of demotion, I guess you could say. I'm not sure what the salary would be, but to a bench coach. We got Stevie Mack in the house. He says, "What up, Goofy Goober?" Shout out Stevie. Shout out everybody in the chat. Keep dropping your comments. Keep dropping your takes and your wishes for the Mets because we got a long hot stove season ahead of us. But yeah, Patty, nothing dropping new today. Just want to kind of go over what we saw over this past week. Nelson, I know you were on the Mets Roundtable podcast last night with Mets Talk with Hayden and Talking Mets with Rob. Didn't get the chance to see that. I was out, so I know that we're going to be repeating some of these topics. But obviously, like I said, I am liking what David Stearns is doing in terms of building the executive level positions within this new Mets regime from top to bottom. And I think that the Mets over the past couple of seasons and for as long as I can remember, really, are lacking in both the scouting department and player development department, to be honest with you. I think that's two areas, maybe more so the player development, but also the scouting. You can never go wrong in terms of having another fresh set of eyes there for that regime. So I completely agree with your sentiments. Anything else you want to talk about with these two guys before we get into these non-tender decisions that the Mets made?
No, not really. I mean, this is getting all repetitive, to be honest. Like it's
Yep.
nothing really to really keep going on about, so we can move on.
All right. There we go. You see it at face value here. What are your initial reactions to the non-tendered lists?
Not an issue with any of it, really. I heard you didn't put Drew Smith on there. He was tendered.
Yep.
That's the only one that kind of sucks, but I understand it. We honestly have limited arms in the bullpen to begin with. We just can't sign as many guys. We need too many damn players is the problem here. Glad Trevor Gott's gone. Brigham, thank goodness. Coonrod, whatever. Guillorme was a little bit of a shocker, but you can replace an all glove guy. That's pretty simple. We, like I said yesterday, we might have already that we signed that Zach Short dude. He's basically an all glove, no bat guy, just like Guillorme.
Yep.
We'll go back. Obviously, that's the one everybody's happy about. Good riddance. We don't have to worry about him. As far as the guys tendered, obviously they were going to tender Pete Alonso. DJ Stewart, good guy to have off the bench. If he's starting as much as he did last year, it's a problem. Hopefully he's not. Lucchesi, again, good guy to have for depth. Peterson, I'd rather never see him pitch a game with the Mets again. But again, he's a guy that if you got him in the minors in case we have multiple injuries, then it's whatever. Be interested to see if they maybe try to make him a bullpen arm. I know they experimented with that before and it didn't work so well, but we lack, and unless we sign this guy, we lack that swingman guy, the Trevor Williams style pitcher that can start a game here or there or give you like 3 or 4 innings in a game where things start to get out of hand. We lack that right now, so be interesting to see if they maybe use him in that kind of role or even a Lucchesi in that kind of role. So I'm pretty good with everything that they did as far as the non-tender deadline is concerned.
Yep. No, I agree with you. I have no quarrels or any sort of problems with the Mets and what decisions that they made. I like DJ Stewart. He's not going to be a starting piece for this team, hopefully not, but he is a great, solid bench bat to bring back. And like I said, he was electric down the stretch. I said it in last episode of the Interstate Mets Report. He was electric down the stretch in 2023, provides some pop and played surprisingly good defense. So he's a nice little fifth outfielder to have. Now you're really just searching for that, I guess, fourth outfielder, either third or fourth, depending on how you view Jeff McNeil. Before we get into anything else, Patty's saying that Keith is trolling us with the Dick Mountain talk there. It's satire. And Stoney's also telling us happy Thanksgiving. You too, Stoney. Appreciate you. Thank you for
Thanksgiving,
tuning in.
brother.
Happy Thanksgiving as well. Yeah, I have no problems at all with what the Mets did here. Luis Guillorme, like I said, he's a super utility man with the glove side, but he's not gonna give you anything of value offensively. I know that he's been for the Mets for as long as we can remember. And his dad was a huge presence on Twitter. It's unfortunate to see that sort of thing kind of go, but it's like at the end of the day, this is not a huge organizational impact. He didn't have a huge organizational impact whatsoever, really, on the Mets. And it's something that you can replace with the value. I know I wanted to point out that the Mets did sign, I guess, Cole Sulser, relief pitcher, to a minor league contract, which is not any sort of groundbreaking news. Stats don't look great, but it is a minor league contract. See how he does. Sure, he'll get sort of a shot maybe in spring training to see what he's got, or he just starts the year off in the minor leagues and just see how he progresses. But did want to say that because the Mets at least did something, and we saw the Braves get active in the relief market early on. Two guys bringing in. Forgot the names of the two guys, but obviously they traded for one and signed the other. Do you remember the two guys, the names of the two guys the Braves got?
Um,
I know Bummers first, the first one, and
Alex
then
Bummer and why am I blanking on the dude's name? Yeah, totally blanking on it. I have to.
anyways, two lower value guys in terms of, I mean, I guess they gave him a 3-year contract worth $30 million for the second guy. I don't know. They're getting active.
Reynaldo Lopez.
Okay, that's right. Reynaldo Lopez. They're getting
Um,
active in the relief market. They're getting active in the relief market. That's all we should really say here. And the Mets really have a lot of work to do in the relief department themselves. So Cole Sulser is one of those guys that the Mets signed to a minor league deal. But in terms of over here, like I said, Trevor Gott, happy he's gone. Jeff Brigham, who I thought had a little bit of electricity when he first came in with the Mets in 2023. He had like a couple of good appearances before he just started to just crap the bed. That's all I'm going to say. So he's not going to be missed either. And then Sam Coonrod, you're not going to get anything out of there. So the Mets really need to prioritize that early bullpen market. With the likes of Rayleigh coming back and Edwin Diaz coming back as well. You need to find that eighth inning setup man, because Brooks Rayleigh will be that seventh inning guy, and find some early bullpen relief help to go alongside, I guess, Drew Smith that we have. And he, with his tender contract. So Joey Lucchesi, you'll see in my projected lineup, I think he's going to have a big part of this Mets. He's going to be a big part of this Mets team, to be honest with you, moving forward this season, 2024. Whether people like that or not, I truly think that they're going to use him, and in that back end of the rotation, whether it's the fifth or sixth starter. So I have no problems here as well. Like I said, this is old news. We're just kind of recapping what happened between our last episode and now. So I have no problems here. I think the main thing that you see on the screen here, everybody wants to talk about, is Daniel Vogelback's not going to be the Mets DH anymore in 2024. And I think that we're all relieved. So we'll see how active the Mets are in the DH market, or if they want to promote someone internally, maybe like a Ronnie Mauricio. If they're not planning to trade him, maybe he's the everyday DH with his bat, has some serious pop, great bat speed. So we'll see what happens there. Moving on into this next topic. Listen, I don't know what your thoughts and opinions are about Luis Severino. We really haven't discussed this as of yet. I know we will discuss it even more in the next slide when we go over our 2024 projected lineups. But I want to get your take on this, because there's been some heavy reporting out there that Luis Severino is tied with the Mets. So what are you thinking? You see his 2023 numbers weren't up to par in the Yankees organization. 2022 numbers looked a lot better. So how are you liking Luis Severino and that option for the Mets?
Listen, if the goal is to sign Yamamoto, even if it's not, we probably are going to have a six-man rotation. I think you're going to need to sign guys that are under the radar signings, guys that you're hoping have bounce back seasons, because you're not going to have six guys in a rotations that are sure things. You're just not. It's not a possibility. No team has that really. Usually, the 4 or 5 guys or the 6th guy are guys you're kind of taking flyers on.
Yep.
So, do I have a? As long as he comes relatively cheap, would I have a problem giving him like the 5th or 6th starter spot? No, I have no issue with that, or at least having him compete for it. Obviously, last year was ugly, but he has proven he can pitch in the past. His health is an issue, um, but he knows how to do it in New York, which is always something that it's kind of like that little extra piece that you look for in a player. It's the one reason that I think Jordan Montgomery entices people. Seth Lugo, yeah, Seth Lugo would be nice. I don't necessarily see a world where signing Severino stops you from getting a Seth Lugo. Again, you're going to need multiple guys like this. You're not. The Mets have only 2 guys in their rotation.
Yep.
So they're gonna have to, even if they sign Yamamoto, they're gonna have to find 2 or 3 other pitchers. Like, it's a lot, but we got to figure it out. On a 1-year deal, I'm fine with it. Obviously, there's other options. If we don't get him, I'm not gonna cry about it. But yeah, he's somebody that I wouldn't hate taking a flyer on at all.
No, I definitely agree. We got Rick tapping in with us, checking out the chat, saying hello to Patty as well. We got Tonin here, reminding us that it was Reynaldo Lopez that the Braves had signed. And this is a good one too. I completely forgot about Penn Murphy being called or claimed off of waivers for the Braves too. So they actually added 3 relievers to their squad in the early goings of this offseason. Obviously, Penn Murphy was claimed by the Mets, went through waivers, got picked up by the Braves. Off those waivers, and they're off to a hot start in the relief market. So that's another name that I completely forgot about. So thank you, Yuki, for reminding us about that. M Easy is checking in. Kyle Gibson signed with the Cardinals. I saw that was a 1-year, $12 million deal with the Cardinals. They now have signed 2 old veterans in Lance Lynn and Kyle Gibson. So we'll see what they're cooking up in St. Louis. Not really sure what the direction of that team is going in. They had a disappointing 2023 campaign. Got some big names there still, like Arenado and Goldschmidt. So we'll see what happens with them. But they're opting to go with those lower level 1-year deals, I guess, with those veteran starting pitchers. So we'll see what happens. Sulcer, Tom saying Sulcer has a career ERA of 3.87 and 1.327 WHIP. I think I saw that his ERA was skyrocketed in 2023, but his overall career numbers are pretty decent. So I agree with you, Tom. And the
Barely.
Mets,
He only pitched like 5 innings in 2023. He was hurt.
oh,
2022,
okay. There you go.
yeah, 2022 he was bad as well, but he still had like a 10 strikeouts per 9 innings, which is pretty good, even though his numbers were overall were pretty bad. Again, he's just a minor league dude. You take a swing at and hope that it works out. If it doesn't, what you spent, 500 grand or something, it's not a big deal. You're gonna see multiple signings like this before spring training comes around.
Yep. And then Rick's asking it in terms of if you're taking a flyer on Severino, and if not, who else would we take a flyer on? So he's not in my projected starting rotation for the Mets. I actually will talk about that here in a second. I have them going the trade route to take a quote unquote flyer on in terms of the pitcher. So I'll get into that in just a second. But if it comes down to it being Luis Severino, I'm definitely not going to be mad about it, right? Give him a prove-it-year deal, 1-year deal, see how he performs. His 2022 numbers you see on the screen aren't bad at all. 19 games started, went 7-3, just above a 3 ERA, and that WHIP 1.00 is not bad at all. Is actually great. So obviously inflated 2023 numbers. Don't think the Yankees have any plans of bringing him back. Because they're going to be heavily in on the free agent starting pitching market. There's a lot of reports saying that they're prioritizing number one, first and foremost, Yoshinobu Yamamoto. So that's going to be a direct bidding war with the New York Mets in terms of the services for Yamamoto. So we'll keep an eye out on those developments. But at this point, like I said, the amount of rotation spots you need to fill, you need to either bring someone in for a flyer deal like that, the 1 year prove it year deal, or you need to promote from within. So whether that means Joey Lucchesi, Vasil, or whoever else may have you, you need to fill in those spots, especially if you go and sign Yamamoto. I'm going to preach to the choir here. We're going with a 6-man rotation. I think someone said in the comments, and I've been saying this for months now, we are going with a 6-man rotation 100% if Yamamoto comes on board. That's not a question. So yeah, 100%. Definitely agree with everybody in the chat here. I know you talk about Seth Lugo. Could be a valuable piece. Like I said, one of those guys to fill in the back end too. Had a decent campaign with the Padres. Bringing him back in a reunion would be awesome. And yeah, I mean, we haven't talked about Shota Imanga just yet. I'm not sure what the market's going to be like for him. Another guy, if you miss on Yamamoto, I think the pivot would have to be a guy like Imanga. Or I know that I'm not really a fan of him. I know you're not in terms of the deal that he's going to want, but Blake Snell also is a lefty that's out there. That's going to be your top dog in terms of being that crafty lefty. But Shota Imanga, everything that I've seen from Imanga, such a crafty left-handed pitcher. And I think that he could definitely be a strong pivot point if the Mets don't strike a deal with Yamamoto. And like I said, in addition to the Yankees and the Mets, the Phillies are also reported to be on Yamamoto too. So we'll keep an eye out on that. We'll provide you all the
all
updates.
of Major League Baseball is supposedly in
Well,
on Yamamoto.
yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. I mean, we'll see what happens. I hope we can sign him because to me, like that's a big one. If we miss out on him, then we have to pivot, and we have to pivot to a guy like Snell. I'm not a fan. We've talked about it. Manga's a guy I like. He's probably not a top end of the rotation guy. He's more of a middle of the rotation guy. I wouldn't mind taking a flyer on him. Yariel Rodriguez is one of those dudes where it's reported he wants to start, but he's kind of one of those swingman guys. He could start, but he's more likely a bullpen guy. We'll see. I really like him. If we could pick him up, that would be a great pickup as well, regardless of where they decide to use him. But yeah, man, we need help, and the pitching needs a ton of help. I didn't put him in my projected bullpen, but I like that Fujinami for the bullpen. He's a guy that strikes out a ton of guys. Has a lot of heat, but his command sucks. Hopefully, he's another one of those dudes. If you sign him, you can throw in the pitching lab and see if you can figure something out with his mechanics and fix his issues with the walks. But yeah, there's a lot of options. We'll see where we all end up.
Yeah, no doubt. And Easy was saying just that for Fujinami for the bullpen. John saying that Imanga looked really good in the World Baseball Classic. Rick saying thank you for answering this question. We'll get into that a little bit more, but shout out you, Rick, thank you for paying attention and tuning in with us. Definitely appreciate that. Yeah, so like I said, Severino, definitely one of those guys you could take a flyer on. The Mets going to need a lot of help. I think we're going to say the same thing over and over and over again until this rotation fills out. So bear with us if this is just getting a little bit repetitive here. But let's get into the juicy part of this show here. We switched spots a little bit, but Nelson, you have your 2024 projected lineup for the Mets, both the starting lineup in terms of the offense and the starting rotation in terms of filling in that aforementioned those holes in the aforementioned rotation. So go through it one by one. Let's talk about it. Let's have a discussion in terms of how the Mets are going to approach this and keep in mind, guys, this is just projected. This is what we think, and this is what we think realistically is going to happen. So if you don't see Shohei Ohtani on here, yes, we all want Shohei Ohtani, but we do not think he's coming to Queens. And we'll just say that for what it is at face value right now. So Nelson, let's go through it and let's go through this projection here.
Yeah, let me preface this with a few things. I hate doing these things because they're never right. People get on you for not picking the guys they want, blah, blah, blah. I get it. We're just doing this for something to add a topic, to talk about something a little different. Like you said, like with Shohei, there's plenty other guys that I'd love to see on the Mets that I didn't put in this. I just did this more based on, I mean, yes, I'm picking out names specifically, but it's based on what I think the Mets needs are. And for me, it's pitching, pitching, pitching. And that's why I focus more on pitching. I feel like the lineup, while if you do it this way, you could potentially have some holes because you're relying on guys that maybe aren't great. But let's be realistic. Starling Marte isn't going anywhere, I don't think. Like, we're probably going to see him out in the outfield. Brandon Nimmo's obviously locked in. Jeff McNeil, I would trade. I kind of still hope they do. I couldn't think of a trade in my head. I wanted to do this with as few trades as possible because it's so impossible to come up with trades and who you're going to trade and this and that and the other. I don't know what teams want. I'm not a GM. I can just guess. So Jeff McNeil, I think, is a guy that a lot of teams would want. I think he could fill holes for a lot of teams. I think we could maybe get some pitching back for him. But for these purposes, I kept him in the lineup. And I sent him off to left field because I have Ronnie Mauricio manning second base. I don't feel like we're, just based on Stern's comments, I don't feel like we're giving up on Beatty yet. So I think he's going to get his shot at third base, at least to start the year. I've said it. The rest of the guys, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. Lindor's not going anywhere. I don't think we're trading Pete. Francisco's our obvious catcher. I've said it time and time again. We need a DH. So I went with Teoscar. It could be any other guy. It could be Soler. Hoskins is an option. Who knows? You maybe see a trade. But my favorite out of the free agents is Teoscar, if you're not getting Shohei, obviously. So that would be my guy. He would be the everyday DH. And we move on to the pitching. Yamamoto, I've said it. I mean, we've been saying it for months. He's my number one target. I want him badly. Obviously, we have Senga in there. So I probably did this out of order. It would probably be Yamamoto 1, Senga 2, maybe. Who knows with Cease. If we get Cease, again, threw a trade in there. I saw M. Easy ask me who would I trade for Cease. It's going to be mostly minor leaguers. You're probably going to have to trade. It depends. I didn't do it with adding Robert to it. If you added Robert, you would have to give up a lot more, obviously. Got to remember, Cease is still relatively young. He's under control for a couple years. So I still imagine you'd have to give up a Chet Williams or a but yeah, I'm not in a world where I'm not opposed to parting with most guys. Williams, we've talked about it, is the one guy I'd like to keep. But yeah, I don't know specifics on a trade. I just know we would have to part with some of our big name kids. If they wanted McNeil in the deal, that's fine with me too. They can take him. We can figure something out for the outfield. But yeah, and I know I saw the fact that somebody said fans won't be happy with the lineup. I realize that, and I'm not entirely enamored with that lineup either. It's just in my mind, I see us allocating our resources towards pitching. That's what I see. I feel like we're gonna go pitching and bullpen. Maybe I'm wrong. Like I said, I'm no Miss Cleo. I'm just taking a shot here. But yeah, Cease would be my trade target. Then obviously we already have Quintana. We talked about Severino. And Wade Miley, I think, is a solid enough guy that he doesn't have sexy numbers. He's older, but he's kind of like that reliable veteran that you could probably get on a somewhat cheap deal. So that's why I went that route. As far as we didn't get into the bullpen, but Yariel Rodriguez is obviously a guy. Like I said, but rotation, bullpen, whatever. I just try to sign him any way possible. There's other guys that I'm interested in. Neris, I don't like him personally, but he's pitched well.
Yep.
Maton's another solid reliever out in the market. We'll see. It depends on how much money. What was that?
Ryan Stanek, also with the Astros organization.
A good one. We could see Robertson back. There's a number of options. It just depends on how much we're going to spend. I don't know what Cohen wants to do. Cohen and Stearns want to do as far as spending money. I don't foresee us going crazy and having a $500 million payroll. If I did, then I'd be all for Shohei and bring in Soto and everybody else. But I just don't see it. There's a lot of money coming off the books next year, which they could, in theory, say, you know what, screw it. We'll have a crazy payroll this year, and then next year it'll just even itself out a little bit. That's possible. But yeah, this is just my thoughts on paper. I think that rotation, if it stays healthy, can win you some ball games. If the kids produce well enough, I think the lineup is serviceable enough. Marte's the guy I hate. I hate having him there because I don't see him getting any better. But it is what it is. You can't fill every single hole. It's just not realistic in my mind. So you're gonna have to just pray with some of these guys. So yeah, that's my projection. Probably totally wrong. Don't hang me for it. It is what it is.
Yeah, and it's important to just say that, like I said, it's impossible to know, but like I said, the Mets have so many different options right now in terms of, well, really, I want to rephrase that and say that the Mets have a problem, right? Because they have Brett Baty, they have Starling Marte. Marte's not going anywhere. Brett Baty, right? This lineup could actually be serviceable if Brett Baty performs like AAA Brett Baty. And so, do you sell on him low? That's not realistic, but you're not going to bench him either. So you have that spot already taken, that third base spot already taken automatically. So like what can the Mets really do to upgrade that third base position unless, like Yuki was saying on James Nolan's podcast yesterday that I was on, whether the Guardians are willing to part with Jose Ramirez and you send Brett Baty off and Ronnie Mauricio off in that sort of package, but that's going to take a whole lot more than probably those two guys. So the Mets lineup is really in a stalemate, especially with the Marte contract in one, and then two, Brett Baty his performance. So I like Teoscar Hernandez. I think he's a low-key sort of signing that the Mets could definitely go after. He wouldn't require a ton amount of years on that contract too. So that could be maybe a little bit of a more, I guess I wouldn't say cheaper route because he's still probably going to get a decent little contract for him. His numbers really have taken a little bit of a dip, but not much production is being lost there. And I definitely do trust him with the bat at least. Maybe not so much in the outfield, but definitely with the bat. So I don't think a lot of people are talking about Teoscar Hernandez, but I think they should be because I think that's probably one of the most realistic. And I want to emphasize realistic because that's the approach that we are going with here. And that's the target sort of projected lineups that we are going with here. Realistic, not what our dream Mets lineup would be, to so to speak, like you were saying before. So we have Tone here. His realistic lineup is McNeil, Nimmo, Marte in the outfield. In the infield, it's Mauricio at third base. I agree with Tone here. I would definitely trust Mauricio more so as an everyday starter than Brett Baty. But I just cannot see it happening because I don't know why. I just feel like the Mets are going to go Brett Baty. But if it were up to me personally, I would have Mauricio as my everyday third baseman. So, and that way you can go ahead and keep McNeil at second base if you're going to keep him around, and then you find a way to plug in that hole in left field. So that's how I would approach it. But definitely agree there. Acuna. See, Acuna is what intrigues me. I kept away from the Drew Gilberts and Acunas of the world in my opening day roster just because I don't think that Stearns and what he said in his press conference, like he doesn't view these guys that are in the minor leagues as starting pieces right now for the 2024 opening day lineup. So I stayed away from that. But if that mentality does change, maybe someone really does impress in spring training, you can have the likes of Gilbert maybe plugging in left field or Acuna there at second base, like Tone is saying. So definitely agree there. Tom saying Justin Turner makes a little bit of sense for DH. He could also be a backup. I don't know I don't know if center field. I'm not sure if Justin Turner plays the outfield, but
Yeah,
um,
I remember Turner playing the outfield. I know he's played the
yeah,
infield. He hasn't played it well in a while.
he's
Um,
old. He's
yeah,
old.
you can plug
Yeah,
in. I mean, it doesn't. I'm not married to Teoscar Hernandez. There's JD Martinez. There's Justin Turner. Like you just need a DH that can actually hit and play that spot almost every day. Like I don't want a platoon anymore. I don't want to see a
yep,
platoon with DJ Stewart and God knows who. Like I want to have a legitimate DH because we just haven't had it. I
yeah,
feel like Teoscar could be good in that role. The dude, and he can spell Marte in the outfield or McNeil or what have you. So yeah, I'm just looking for a solid DH, man. I just want somebody that can hit. I'm tired of the Vogelbacks of the world. That's all.
yeah. No, I agree with you. I agree with you. And like I said, I kept Cease off of mine, but I think that if you've been watching and tuning in with us here, that Dylan Cease would be my preferred um trade target for the starting rotation if we were to go to after anybody. I don't think Corbin Burns is realistic, but Dylan Cease, if you can get him over from the White Sox and without them totally fleecing you, then definitely go ahead and bring me Dylan Cease. But just to go for the different route from yours, I'm gonna go ahead and prop up mine here. This is mine. It's mostly the same, but I wanted to go ahead and switch up a little bit. Obviously, you see the left field is the glaring difference here. I slotted in Ronnie Mauricio at my DH. All the mainstays are going to be here. I don't think Jeff McNeil goes in. I don't think Jeff McNeil goes anywhere. I think he's going to stay up the middle with Lindor for better or for worse. Um, I have Brett Beatty starting at third base. Just like I said, the Mets are pretty much tied unless they swing a big deal for a star third baseman. I'm not sure if Arenado's on the trading block or not, but Jose Ramirez maybe as well. But Brett Beatty's not going anywhere unless the Mets swing a deal. So it's his position there starting in 2024. Not to say that Ronnie Mauricio can outperform him at third base and take that over, but that's exactly what I'm saying there. But yeah, let's see here. Juan Soto is the big guy that I really think is going to be on this trade market. I don't see him being in a Padre uniform. I don't think the Mets can afford to let him go to the Yankees either, just because I'm afraid that if you wait for the 2025 free agency, he's not going to be there. If another team scoops him up, especially like the Yankees, he's really built to be in that Yankee Stadium with that short porch. Like New York makes the most sense for Juan Soto. So I'm not one of those fans that are prospect huggers. Like I'm not gonna go if the opportunity presents itself to go and trade for Juan Soto this offseason. And if it's a reasonable trade, obviously you're gonna have to give up a lot. I understand that. But if it's a somewhat reasonable trade to get him in here in the lineup right behind Pete, you pull the trigger on that all day long. So I got Juan Soto in left field for the Mets. Obviously that situation with Juan Soto and the Padres is going to be absolutely one of the key things to watch out for outside of the Otani sweepstakes. So my starting rotation here, I got Kodai Senga, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, 1-2. I think that this offseason, I hate to say that an offseason is a failure if you don't sign one guy, but I think that it's going to look really grim if the Mets don't cash in on Yoshinobu Yamamoto, to be honest with you. And that's how I look at it. I know the Yankees are in the mix. I know the Phillies are in the mix. I know a lot of other teams are in the mix for Yoshinobu Yamamoto, but you've got to go ahead and sign him. I wanted to put in Dylan Cease there, but you can see one of my filler guys is Tyler Glasnow down below. If you strike a deal, maybe if David Stearns knows how to negotiate with the Rays, which seems like nobody knows how to do in terms of not giving up too much for a guy like Tyler Glasnow, then I'd love to have him in as a filler because his upside is just absolutely tremendous. We know what he's capable of when he's on the mound. It's just about staying on the mound for him. So instead of signing a free agent to a 1-year prove-it deal, you trade for a guy like Tyler Glasnow, hopefully buy low on him is how I would approach that. And then Eduardo Rodriguez filling that out.
My only problem there is I find it hard. Like, I agree with Easy. I find it hard to believe we could swing a deal for Soto and Glasnow. It's because I think they're going to want more than most people think for Glasnow. And I just don't think he's worth it. The guy just can't stay on the mound. His arm is made of glass. Like, I hate relying on a guy like that. But other than that, I really like this. I like Erod. Yeah, I got no problem. If we should get Soto, that'd be awesome. Just like you said, it's a lot to give up. So we'll see. I'm not actually entirely convinced that they're going to trade him, to be honest.
You don't think so? I don't know, man. I really hope that they do let him go. But like I said, I think I forgot who made the point. Like, what would be the incentive to keep Juan Soto in the NL? You might as well just trade him to the AL. And that's one of my fears as well. But do I think it's realistic? Yes, I think it's realistic because I think if the Mets decide they want to be aggressive, they have the pieces of what it takes for what the Padres might want. I know the pitching is a question mark. We talked about the lack of pitching in the Mets farm system. Blade Tidwell, Christian Scott, and then Mike Vassell. But like, you have to pull the deal for Juan Soto if he's there. If he's on the trading block, you got to make that call. Eduardo Rodriguez, there's some names out there. The Braves are rumored to be in on Eduardo Rodriguez. It seems like the Braves really are prioritizing pitching as well. They have the same issue that the Mets have. The bullpen, I guess, was an issue for them. They went out and got 3 guys, and they're sort of looking a lot better in that department. And then their starting pitching took a hit. They had to re-sign Charlie Morton to another 1-year, $20 million deal, which is a lot more than what Charlie Morton should be making. But I guess they're rewarding him because they don't have many other options at this rate to sort of fill out their rotation internally. So I think Eduardo Rodriguez might be in a little bit of a direct competition with the Braves in terms of his services. So I don't know, man. I think that this starting rotation in this lineup, if you can bring a big guy in here like Juan Soto, I think that the fans would be happy, to Easy's point. And then you keep everything else consistent. I think Ronnie Mauricio, with his skill set and what he can do with the bat, I don't need to see Ronnie Mauricio in the field. I know he's capable. I know we've seen that he's capable down the stretch in the latter part of 2023, that he can play the field at the major league level, but I don't even need to see him in the field. If he's our everyday DH, I trust him a hell of a lot more than Daniel Vogelback. I'll say that. You got a switch hitting power guy, and his bat speed's absolutely tremendous. I worry about his strikeout rate. I absolutely do. But at this point, if nobody else has taken a flyer on Ronnie Mauricio in a trade, like I said, the Mets' hands are tied. They can't just not afford to not play him. You know what I mean? So I don't know. The Mets have a lot of options. It really is just about what David Stearns decides to prioritize. And to be honest with you, I know that you're saying you don't think the Mets are going to do a lot of, I guess, big shopping this offseason. And I do understand that. I just think that they have to find that perfect medium. They don't have to go out there and get an Ohtani for $500 million. That's not going to be the end all be all for the Mets this offseason. But they do have to do a little bit of shopping because the current state of this roster is just not one that's conducive to a winning ball club. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But other than that, that's all I got. I think that rotation right there would give you some solid wins. I think both of our rotations, whichever way the Mets go and toward the bottom of that rotation, from 3, 4, 5, and 6, doesn't really matter. You got Jose Quintana being a mainstay, whether it's Cease or whether it's Eduardo Rodriguez. Doesn't really matter. Both those guys are capable. And then whether it's Glasnow and Lucchesi or Miley and Severino, I think that rotation would be setting you up for success if everybody stays on the field, like you said. That's the main thing with the Mets that we've been kind of having to deal with as fans for quite some time is these players staying on the field. So that's what I got.
Always health, man. Health always kills us. It'd be one time. It'd be nice if we could stay healthy for a whole season and see what we can actually do. That's why Glasnow is just, I can't trust him to stay healthy. But I like your thinking, and we need to acquire a starting pitcher via trade, I think, in some capacity. I don't think we're going to bring in all free agents. I think we're going to have to trade for someone, whether it be Glasnow, Cease, Burns. I know he's not a name a lot of people love. Bieber, whoever. It's just whoever comes available, we're going to have to trade for a pitcher. You may have to trade for some relievers as well. So we'll see. Our lineups are almost identical, except we swapped.
Yep.
You have Soto. I had Teoscar. I would absolutely love to get Soto. I think, and then I had Mauricio playing second. You had him at DH. Doesn't really matter. Either way, I think Mauricio and Beatty are both playing some way, somehow. Like you said, we have to give these kids a shot unless we do trade one of them, which I don't, at this point, I don't see happening, but I don't know. David Stearns and that front office has been extremely quiet. I know it scares some people. Some people are on that. They're not going to do anything, and we're just going to sign a bunch of scrubs and everything else. I get that. I know people are nervous. I don't see that happening, though. We're going to spend somewhere. It's just who knows where. It's at this point. It's still early. We haven't even hit the freaking winter meetings yet. So people need to relax because I'm already seeing people going nuts and Stearns isn't doing anything, and oh my God, the Braves signed this guy. It's like, did you really want Lance Lynn and freaking Ronaldo Lopez that bad that you're losing your minds? Like, relax.
Yeah. No, I agree. Teoscar and Adam Duvall, actually. Adam Duvall is an interesting one. I think he had some health issues in Boston. He went on a tear to begin the season and kind of slowly fizzled off. So I know what he can provide in the bat. Obviously, whether it's DH or playing in that left field spot, Adam Duvall is not a bad name. But like I said, that's a bargain deal, and that's the cheap route. And like I said, I don't think the Mets are going to go the cheap route. And in terms of what Patty was saying here, in terms of what my projections were, like I said, when you dwindle down, all it takes is 2 trades and 2 free agent signings, and you're back in this thing. Like I said, and you're putting a respectable product on the field. And I know that these aren't just any willy-nilly trades, especially the Juan Soto deal. Like I said, you can keep Glasnow out of there. Like I said, if the Rays are asking for too much for Tyler Glasnow, you can say see you later. That's fine with me. But if you get a combination of Soto, Yamamoto, and Erod, the Mets are in good shape. Or if you replace Erod with Cease, I don't want to replace Yamamoto with anybody, but like I said, if it's Cease instead of Yamamoto, or maybe a Burns deal presents itself, there's a lot of different ways this Mets thing can go.
I don't
This
think any
offseason
of us
goes.
want Yamamoto to be replaced with anybody. Like, I think
Exactly.
the Mets fan base as a whole, if he signs somewhere else, is collectively going to be pretty upset. And I get it. I don't know. We just have to wait and see. He might just not want to be a Met. He might want to play on the West Coast with the Dodgers, or he might have some love affair with the Yankees. Like, we don't know. Certainly hope not.
Yep.
But yeah, we all want, like, Yamamoto being the ace in our rotation would be like huge for this team.
Yep. I agree with you. And I think Tone doesn't want to trade Mauricio. Like I said, I agree. His upside with his bat's awesome. His glove is more than serviceable. I think he's a better all-around player than Brett Beatty. I just think that there's a way to get both of those guys into the lineup, whether you platoon them at third base or you give, Mauricio the DH spot. It doesn't really matter how you shake it out. And like I said, I do agree with you. His glove is better than Brett Beatty. I think he's a more complete ball player and a ball player that's more built for New York City rather than Brett Beatty. I know we were talking about that on last show. In terms of Brett Beatty potentially finding another home and being more comfortable in a smaller market in terms of the pressure that might be taken off of him. But I agree with you, Tone. Like I said, I just think that if Brett Beatty isn't in a deal this offseason, you can't just not play him. So he's got to find the field or be in the lineup somewhere. Let's see. we had the Amish Hive here today, bro. I haven't blinked in
the chat's
a
a
long
little
time.
unhinged. Yeah. The chat's a little unhinged today. I think they got a little celebrating the holiday a little early.
A little too early today. Yeah, man. Like I said, I saw Patty Boss told her to go home, to enjoy the holidays. Like I said, we're doing this on a Tuesday instead of a Friday because the holidays will catch us next week, whether it's Tuesday or Friday, but we're not going live this coming Friday. We'll see if there's any news. Tone's talking about Jordan Montgomery and Lugo. Those are being two good options there too. I do think Jordan Montgomery, like I said, you have to value whether it's Bellinger, Montgomery, and then Blake Snell. Like I said, those guys who are elite in those prove-it-year deals, you have to watch out in terms of what their contract numbers and what they're asking for. But yeah, man, like I said, there's a plethora of options for the Mets this offseason.
I wanted to pull up this M-Easy comment because I think he said it earlier and it kind of got lost in the shuffle there. I would take on whatever if you want to take, if it's just taking on money to give up less in a deal for either of those guys, I'm in. So if it means taking on Moncada, no, I'm not in love with him as a player, but if I can get Cease or Robert or both, and I'm in. Same with Musgrove, not a huge fan of his, but you can slot him in that rotation. If it means getting Soto, let's do it. Like I'm not backing out of a trade if those are the parameters. I don't know what you think, but that's me.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Yeah, like I said, there's going to be the initial conversations of these GM winter meetings is going to be hilarious. I would pay to be in the room to see which arms these big teams are going to be wanting to pawn off to get the better hitters off their teams because they made mistakes. Like I said, Joe Musgrove's contract, Darvish's contract. Just these big contracts that are going to be wanting to be pawned off in order to take these better guys are going to be absolutely insane. So we'll see. We'll see some blockbusters for sure. Hopefully the Mets are in on one of them, but you got to be careful of taking on. Like I said, if there's any teams that are going to be taking on money for one of those arms, it probably would be the Mets because they need they need starting rotation spots to be filled out, and they also need the bat, so it could make perfect sense. And I think that there's a world where you either get Darvish or Musgrove in a Soto deal, like Emmy's is saying, you kill two birds with one stone in one trade. So it could definitely happen, but I'd want to see what the return is for Juan Soto solo or Juan Soto and Musgrove combined together. Like that would be interesting to hear what those conversations are like between the GMs. We get there off the Coquito. Love that, bro. Love that. Enjoy your time. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Having a little drink, watching the boys up here talking Mets baseball. Love it. Tone saying Snell's the worst Cy Young pitch I've ever seen. We would lose our minds watching him pitch in New York. Yeah, man, I agree with you. I think that's why Elvish and I haven't really been talking about him. Here we go. What are you thankful for, Nelson? Ahead of Thursday, what are you thankful for?
Love the question, Tom. Tom, I'm thankful for you. You've been a great friend. Always checking in on me. I appreciate him. He was my first guest ever on my one podcast I was doing for a while. Great story. You guys should check that out if you haven't. I love the story of how he became a Mets fan. Thankful for you, Chris. Doing this show together has been extremely fun. Anytime we hop on any show together, it's been awesome. Thankful for everybody in the chat. You guys are great, especially the guys in the group chat. Patty's always on X showing love and on here on our videos too. David, everybody, Aaron, Yuki, whoever he is, he changes his name every week. I saw Aaron in here at one point. Everybody, even M-Easy, he gets on us sometimes.
M-Easy.
He's a loyal follower. We appreciate it. So freaking David. David needs to stop. Yeah, everybody. Appreciate y'all. Thankful for my family, of course, and my kiddo and everything else. So yeah, hope everyone has a great holiday. If you're traveling, please be safe. Enjoy some good food. I'm prepping tonight for for Thursday. I already got stuff I need to season and cook and everything else. So it's gonna be busy next couple of days.
Absolutely. Just to reiterate what you said, thankful for everybody. Like I said in the chat, And you, Nelson, thank you for making this show possible. We started this 5 months ago, and we're already 5 months in. It's kind of unbelievable to believe that we're on episode 28. So everybody as well in the chat for dropping those comments. As brutal as it is, everybody that we've met on Mets Twitter that's here supporting us, it's awesome. There's some bad sides to Mets Twitter, but we're always on the good side of Mets Twitter. Obviously, everyone here in the chat. So definitely appreciate everybody tuning in. There's going to be more of us, so keep rocking with us 100%. There we go. Yep, 100%. Like I said, all these comments 100%. Thank you all for tuning in, being supportive. Got Talking Mets with Rob in the chat as well. The Dream Team. Happy Thanksgiving. Aaron saying happy Thanksgiving as well. There we go. I got the press shirts, David. I know, man. I gotta show up fly here. I gotta one up Nelson here. It's hard, man. It's hard. Like he said, with those round cheeks, I gotta one up him somehow. It's gonna be with my clothes because it can't be with my looks. But yeah, Jay's in the chat too, 100%. And then Tom is saying, happy holidays, guys. Thanks for the great content as always. Like I said, it's been the Interstate Mets Report. We'll be back here with you all next week. No show on Friday. There will be some breaking news maybe by the time we get on here the next go around, either Tuesday or Friday of next week. So keep rocking with us. Like I said, subscribe to all of our channels. Subscribe to Nelson's channel. If you're watching on mine, go to his, subscribe to his, and vice versa. He's at Amish Country Mets Fan on YouTube. I'm at CPNY Sports on YouTube. You know where to find us on Twitter. It's our joint account. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up, subscribing to both channels. Thank you for dropping the comments here live. If you're watching the rerun, drop your comments in the comment section down below. We'll get to it. We'll definitely have a discussion. Keep rocking with us. Like I said, it's been the Interstate Mets Report. Nelson, I don't know if you have anything else to say. I'll let you close it off. But for me, as always, happy Thanksgiving, happy holidays, and let's go Mets.
Yeah, no, just happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I see all the comments. Thanks, Rob. I didn't see you there earlier, but thankful for him as well for the roundtable podcast that we do with him and Hayden. Always a good time. We missed you yesterday, by the way. Were you slacking on us? What were you doing?
Me? Oh yeah, I was at the Wizards game.
What?
The
Wizards?
Game
You missed the show for the Wizards? Shame.
Bro, my girl's a Bucks fan, so I had to support somehow, bro. But I wanted to be on
I get it. You got to support them. No, it's all good. Right, but yeah, look forward to doing more content. It's going to be fun. Look forward to I like the holidays, all cheerful and whatnot. So yeah, happy holidays. Happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you guys next week.
Yep. Oh, we didn't say this before we log off here. We weren't thankful for one guy that's really changed the entire tune of this organization.
Pack your bags, sir. Steve Cohen just bought you.
There we go. Had to do it, guys. It's been CP Nelson here with another episode of the Interstate Mets Report. Catch us next week. Thank you all for rocking with us. Happy holidays. Stay safe. Stay healthy. We'll catch you all next week. Appreciate it.
Thank you for watching the Interstate Mets Report. Streaming Tuesdays at 5 p.m. and Fridays at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure to like, comment, and